Yes, your buzzer, Judge. You can say behind the camera.
It's actually white. It's just a white.
All right. So for your first question, we have 9 answers on the board. Are you guys ready? What
Chris,
is
you're not in
the
frame.
common saying you might name your child? John.
It's up there.
The 7th answer.
So I'm gonna say I know it's
Team Austin goes first. Thanks, Team Holman.
You gotta say, do you want to play?
They can come up here.
Right.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. Sorry. I'm Team Kevin, so let's see if we can get number 1 answer. Put it as not on the board.
All right, so you guys all come up to the front.
Is that what the 5 is? It should be at this.
No, it's not points.
It's about point.
I'm gonna look that up. That doesn't sound like the rule to me.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you.
It's fine.
Just one at a time. Sorry.
Okay. So, what do we have here? Alright, so what's our next answer? What is a common saint name you might name your child?
Teresa. Yep, that's up there.
5. Alright, can I get the next contestant? Go girl. Give her a hand.
Oh, sorry.
Alright. Okay, now it's like, what is a common saint name you might name your child? Mary is our number 1 answer. Alright, can I get our next contestant? And what's your name? Julia. Alright, Julia. What's your answer? What is a common saint name you might name your child? Mark? Mark is
That's a
not
strike.
your answer. Sorry, so we have 2 strikes.
Now 1.
Just one.
You got a strike there.
I don't think the teams get to compare it.
Oh, right.
We get 3 strikes to go.
What is your answer? What is a common saint name you might name your child? Luke. Luke. That is not one of our answers. The strikes are good.
Oh,
No.
Alright, next contestant. You got 2 strikes on the board. Okay, what's your name? Jesse. Alright, Jesse, what is your answer? What is a common saint name you might name your child? Miguel?
or Michael.
So guess what our answer is?
Claire. All right. They get one chance.
One answer.
Take all the points.
Yeah, she got it. So they get all the points on the board. What's his name?
Joseph. Joseph.
They get the whole. They stole. They stole. Yeah, that's how it works. They stole it, so they get all the. They get all.
Yeah, that's how Family Feud works. So who's keeping score?
They have Andrew and Zach.
Dirty game. All right, so we're gonna get 2 contestants.
So it'll be Isabel and then somebody else.
All right, so can I get the next contestant?
You can, but we don't have time for that. Yes.
All right, we have
You guys are
Isabel and Noah. Family Feuds, literally. All right, so our next question, we have 7 answers up on the board. You guys ready? Yep. I'm giving up blank for Lent.
It's okay.
That is our number 1 answer. Well,
No, No, because he got number one. Be quick.
Yeah, but if I would have said giant folks, you probably would have
I'm giving up blank for Lent. Would you say that counts?
I don't know.
Hold on, I'm a judge. What's it say? Social media.
They're pretty linking up the window.
Screen time.
Yeah.
Like for your Garrett, you're not the judge. You also need to see the good quickly.
So, hey, y'all, so we sent out a survey, and I got all the answers in the data, and I did pivot tables to count all the answers. Sorry.
We didn't make it up. Strike one.
Nope.
I think the fun thing is also adults mostly answered these, so think adult answers.
Yeah, I don't have
Caffeine.
That is number 4 answer.
Is that beer and alcohol? It is strike 3.
What did you say? You said coffee?
All right, so you guys have an option of stealing. You don't have to go out to say.
Some answers might be kind of similar because
No, just say it.
soda.
Soda.
So they get all these points.
Alright, next 2 contestants up to the board. Do we steal all these or do we keep going? Yeah.
Yeah, you go.
Okay, never mind.
No. We need next round. Noah.
Did you get them?
Or Anna. A sibling life. They're up against each other again. Hitting family against family here at Life Team.
We got 7 jobs that really easy. From the previous round. Not nearly as much. I asked about 6. It's closer than I have been.
Alright, for our next question, there are 4 answers on the board. It's kind of a tricky one. If I started in the holy order, what would be its mission? That is not one of our answers.
So with that's true. She didn't.
Next question.
What's your answer? If you were starting a holy order, what would be its mission?
Okay, it goes to the next person.
Should we just go to the next question? Do we have enough?
Yeah. Y'all want to do the next question?
Yeah, I think it might be easier. All right.
Okay, so the next question is,
Things like teaching, that kind of stuff would be the answers.
Number one answer. Green is our number one answer.
Ordinary time for the win, guys.
Two more answers.
Huh?
72 out of
120. Yeah, I got 120 responses, and so yeah, that was it.
Noah, quickly.
I will say that I have to take a picture of rows. So.
I'll allow it.
See if they can get all of them.
You won't get all of them because there's only 4 of them.
Final color on the board for color is increased wearing mask. White is not one of our answers.
See if they can get all of them.
Yeah, it's the thought process. Do we know all the liturgical colors before we run out of? Zach, did you write these down?
Just so you guys know, we did ask.
Go, Lisa.
We asked 120 people for these answers. So, and for this question, we have 5 answers on the board. About how many times do you go to confession per year? Lisa.
Oh, we did.
Evan is not right.
Remember, we're asking people.
4 is our number 3 answer. I can't hear you.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. They can give up any
Then your team.
No chatting.
No chatting amongst yourselves. It's your turn to answer.
You guys get that?
All right, Chris.
You can confer
About how many times do you go to confession per year?
the other ones.
1 is our number 2 answer.
Zero's moving.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I have no idea.
Sorry, I come over there. I can't really all right. We have 3 more answers on the board. How many times do you go to confession in a year? 2 is our number 1 answer.
That doesn't make me sad, which is nice. We thought it was going to be 0 as the number 1 answer. I mean, come on.
We have 2, 1, and 4.
2, 1, and 4. So there are 2 more answers left on the board.
I mean, you should go at least once a year, guys. Obligated to go to one.
0 is our number 5 answer.
At least it's number 5, guys. It's number 5.
We got one more answer.
Somebody put like 180. I'm like, you go to confession like every other day. Must have been like a priest or something.
Probably. I don't know. I sent it to a bunch of my friends. Nope, 3 was. Yeah, it's just 1. That's from the previous round. 3, 6,
3, 6, and 5.
5.
Risky, but we're gonna go with. There are people out there who go once a month, so I'm gonna say 12.
That is our answer. All right, I need two estimates to the board.
I should copy the cover.
Got it, Jesse. This, Bridget, this will probably be the last question.
Last question here. Out of 120 people we asked, we have 5 questions, 5 top answers on the board. People know I'm Catholic because I love talking about God.
Same thing.
We'll accept that as Jesus is the answer.
Yes, Steve Harvey is like that.
But that's what
Steve Harvey's
people know I'm
You're good.
Catholic because I love talking about God. Mary is our number 2 answer. Chris? All right. Hold on, Catholic because I love talking about. That is our number 1 answer. All right, next contestant. All right. All right, Anna. You know I'm Catholic because I love talking about. Not one of our answers. Sorry. Give me an answer.
Lent. She said Lent.
She said Lent. Sorry. All right, Noah. Take a sweet old time. Mission trips is not. All right, come on, brother.
I appreciate that you talk about mission trip, Noah. It's a
Yes.
good one.
I should talk about that.
He said mission trip, and that was not an answer.
Think about when my Protestants talk about that too. Well, the Protestants talk about Jesus too.
Friends are about a lot of the things I just asked said.
All right, Roderick. People know I'm Catholic. I love talking about. Don't think that's an acceptable answer.
What did he say? What were the 3 options?
What they said,
The passion. The passion of Christ.
that was not an answer.
And the others were mission trips and
So, yeah, mission trip,
Lent.
passion and Lent were not answers.
so did you guys see that question? And how many are left?
Let's just let one of them. What is on the board?
Mass, Mary, and Jesus.
And Lent. We're not allowed.
You are just there to keep score.
All right, Team Awesomeness, you have an answer. Give me 5. Okay. What's our answer?
Yeah, so you call prayer.
Prayer is not an answer.
What were the other 2 answers?
Our last questions. Who won?
Thanks for you, Chris, guys. We don't know. We're gonna take a commercial break for people to do math. We'll announce it at the end of the night.
We'll announce the winners at the end of the night. And now we're going to move into Ethan's talk tonight, guys. So, guys, do remember that we are in church. Jesus is present with us. And Ethan is going to be giving us the talk about praying for those. So, Ethan, would you like to pray?
You'd have math to do. You have math to do.
Here, I can give this to Ethan.
Lord, we are with you today, and we ask the Holy Spirit to be with
So this afternoon, we're going to talk a little bit about what it means to be both an American citizen and a Catholic at the same time, specifically through the lens of voting. As many of you may know, we are quickly approaching the end of an election cycle. Election day is on Tuesday. It's 2 days from now. We will be deciding, among many other things, the next president of the United States, whether the incumbent, Donald Trump, keeps his seat or if somebody else comes and takes it from him. It's a very exciting time, and we have to know what it is that we're supposed to be doing in all of this. We're going to be looking at what the church says about should we vote as Catholics. We're going to be looking at how we should vote, and then what that actually looks like in practice. Because sometimes lofty ideals and reality don't always meet up with each other. So, start off with what the church says about should we vote. This is a really easy one. Yes, go do it. Absolutely go do it. Why would you not do it? Please go do it. The church, in the Second Vatican Council, there's a document that came out of the Second Vatican Council called Gaudium et Spes. It's a big document, it has a lot of stuff in it. About subsection 75 or so, the church starts getting into what it means to be a citizen and what it means to be a faithful Christian and how those two things interact. And if that sounds a lot like what I'm going to be talking about in my talk, it's because it is, and I'm totally ripping off that document for my talk. But that's because the church knows more than I do, so I'm going to let them talk on this one. But in that document, it says we have a moral duty to use our free vote to advance the goodness of mankind. It doesn't get much more clear than that. We have a moral duty to vote. Now, is the church saying that if you don't vote, that you're going to hell? No. It's not what the church is saying. What the church is saying is that if given the opportunity to use your voice to work within the governmental system in which you live to advance the goodness of those around you, and you decide not to do that, it would be an incredible waste. So, go out, vote, do it. Even if you don't think that your vote matters, because it does, even if you think that the system in which we live in, like votes are rigged, they're sometimes not, they're not really, but there are other things that are on the ballot than just the presidency. Go out, go vote. So, how do we prepare for it? Well, first thing that you gotta do, you gotta register. Now, many of you may be thinking to yourselves, but Ethan, I'm not 18, I can't register. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's true now, but it's not gonna be true for much longer for most of you. In 2024, we will have another general election where we will vote for the president again, and the vast majority of you will all be of legal voting age at that time. Heck, in the 2022 midterm elections, many of you will be of legal voting age and will be able to vote, and that's just 2 years from now. So, it's not something you gotta worry about now necessarily, but it's gonna be something that you'll need to worry about soon. So, go register when you can. I know that when I was in high school, when I was a senior, they were like, hey, it's your birthday in the next 6 months. I'm like, yeah. Do you want to register to vote? Yeah, I filled out a single sheet of paper, and all of a sudden I was now a part of the democratic process in my country. It took me 5 minutes on my lunch break, and I was registered to vote. And if you think to yourself, but that means I have to talk to people. Don't worry, we live in the 21st century. You can do it online now. You don't even have to talk to anybody. You can just go online, rock the vote if that website still exists, and you can sign up. They had so many commercials for Rock the Vote back in the early 2000s. I don't know if they still do it, but someone out there still does it. Heck, you can go to the Wake County Board of Elections webpage and sign up. You can do it. Go register as soon as you're legally able to. The other things after registering to vote that you need to do is you need to know what you're voting for. You need to be informed. And not only do you need to be informed on what you're voting on, but you need to inform your conscience. You need to inform who you are and what your priorities are and what your conscience is. So we're going to start with there first because that's kind of the foundation of everything. You got to form your conscience. How do you do that? Well, it's literally what we do every Sunday when we come to Life Team. We teach you guys church teaching on what is true, good, and beautiful, and what is of God and what isn't. It's what we try to do with our time here on Sundays. So pay attention. It's what we're here for. Pay attention to the scriptures. Pay attention to the Gospels. Use the tools that you have been given. And if nothing else, remember that Jesus gave us the 2 great commandments. Love God above all things and love your neighbor as yourself. If you just use those 2 guiding principles, you'll be good. So, inform your conscience. Then, inform what you're voting on. Whether that means a political candidate, or if there is a direct referendum where you're going to be voting on policy yourself instead of voting on someone to vote on the policy before your behalf. Learn what it is. Learn what that person stands for or what that policy is. Go. Do it. We have the sum total knowledge of human knowledge right here in our pocket, 24/7, 365, at our disposal all the time. Use it. You can go and figure out what you're going to be voting on at any time, as long as you're not doing something else. Now, is this going to be a quick process? No. I will let you guys know that I have already voted. I took advantage of early voting. I voted like a week and a half ago. No, I'm not going to tell you who I voted. But I will tell you that it took me 6 hours to go through all of the options on my ballot. My ballot was front and back, lots of little bubbles. It was like the SAT Scantron all over again. Standardized testing has been preparing me for this moment since I was in high school, actually elementary school, filling in the bubbles. It took me a good 5 minutes just to fill in the bubbles after I had made my decisions. But I digress. Go online, do the research. It will take time, yes, but it's well worth it. You have to be informed on these things. Don't just go and vote just because something sounds good. In that same Vatican document, Gaudium et Spes, the church explicitly says that we should not have a tie to a political ideology, to a political party, to specific political candidates. The things that we should tie ourselves to are God and truth. Those are our governing factors, not what political party somebody belongs to. That is what the church teaches. That is what we should be striving for. So you gotta know what's up. There are a lot of resources out there that you can use to kind of condense everything so that you don't have to hop from one political campaign website to another political campaign website. If you want to know what some of that stuff is, ask me. I'll talk your ear off. I'll talk your ear off about it for about an hour or so. I have 15 minutes, so we're going to move on. So, why? Why do we need to be so prepared? Why do we need to take that 6 hours of time to know what we're voting on? Well, it's because that the church is very clear that cooperating with evil is evil. What do I mean by that? Specifically in the lens of voting. If you vote for something that is bad, that's bad. That's about as simple as I can make it. There's a lot of fluffy language and stuff like that the church uses, and it's a lot more nuanced than that. But when you boil it down to its basics, voting for something that is bad. So we got to know what is bad, what isn't bad, and avoid the bad. Many of you may be thinking, but Ethan, what if all of the options are bad? That is a reality that you will have to face. That is a great question, because it's going to happen. When you look at that ballot and go, none of these options are good, what should I do? The church gives us further guidance. There is something that Thomas Aquinas wrote about in back in the day when he was alive. Don't ask me when it was. I don't remember. But it's called the double effect. And it basically boils down to if an action were to have two or more outcomes, but we're going to use two for the example. Two outcomes, and one is bad, and one is good. But the good is proportional to the bad, and we choose to do the action because of the good and not because of the bad. It's permitted. It doesn't make it good. It does not make it a good action. It makes it permissible. It reduces how culpable you are for the bad action. So, for example, to make things a little bit easier on you, we're gonna step away from voting for a second, and we're gonna go to a really easy one: self-defense. Right? Something comes at you, you're being attacked, you defend yourself, and you inflict harm on another person. Inflicting harm on another person is bad. But the good that you achieve is the protection of your life. As long as you don't inflict more harm than was necessary to protect your life, then it is permitted. It doesn't make it good, but it's permitted. So the same principle can be applied with voting. Now, there are differing levels of bad. Not all bads are equal. Things like euthanasia, abortion, tyranny, racism, xenophobia, those things are more bad than other things. So certain differings in opinion and policy decisions can be little bads, but there are things that are big bads. We have to keep that in mind when we're doing the mental calculus on, well, is this going to achieve more good or is it going to achieve more bad? Keep that in mind. So, now that you've weighed everything out and have informed your conscience, you find yourself at the ballot box and you vote for the most good. And it really comes down to that. Vote for the most good. And if you have studied Jesus, studied God, studied the Gospels, the message that they put forth, you'll be all right. Now, the church isn't going to tell you who to vote for. The church doesn't. It's actually in that same Vatican document, Gaudium et Spes, the church explicitly forbids clergy members for publicly endorsing political candidates. They're not allowed to do it. So don't do it. It's bad. So the church will never tell you you must vote for X, Y, or Z candidate and not A, B, or C candidate. What the church will tell you is use your conscience, know what is of God, do it. And if you ever have any doubts on what you should be doing, take those doubts in prayer. Prayer is your biggest ally, because if you don't know what to do, just ask God directly what you should do and then listen. We talk about prayer all the time. Tonight's night is called Pray the Vote, because you should be taking your vote to prayer. You should be taking that time. Another thing, the last thing I'm going to talk about before I wrap up, is that part of the preparation process is a communal and collaborative process. And the church actively encourages us to go and talk to people about political ideas, especially those that have different political ideas than we do. That same Vatican document, Gaudium et Spes, I think subsection 76, says that we should take our discussions and go and talk to people about them so that we can, inform what we know more. When you are talking in these political discussions, do so with love, patience, and charity. Just like you should approach literally everything else, we are to do everything with love, patience, and charity. This is no different. That I know that there are a lot of people out online that like to drop some dank memes of stuff like facts don't care about your feelings and stuff like that. That doesn't give you a license to be a jerk. Even if you are preaching something that is true, good, and beautiful, you can't do it and be a jerk at the same time. We are to use our vote and our voice to advance the greater good of humanity, and that the person that you are talking to in that moment is part of humanity. You are to be advancing their greatest good at the same time, and you can't advance their greatest good by being a jerk to them. So don't do it. If you see other people being a jerk to them, tell them to stop. So, wrap things up. Go register to vote when you can. Inform your conscience now so that you will know what to do later. When it comes time for you to vote, take the time to learn what you're voting on, pray about it, and then go to the polls and vote to advance the greatest good that you can achieve. And if you ever have any doubts or any questions, know that the church is here to give you guidance, but the greatest tool that you have in your arsenal is prayer. Take it to God, because He knows better than all of us.